is Lymaris Albors from Acacia Network. I'm going to be the moderator for today's panel. With me today we have Russi, Acacia CEO, and Ivis, García, from University of Utah. So what we decided to do today is to do like a round table and just a casual presentation about what we at Acacia have been doing in Puerto Rico for the past 5 years with affordable housing. We did it, the lessons that we learned, and ideas that we have for the future. It's going to be very informal. You can ask as many questions as you want. Before we start, we would like to know who is in the workshop with us. So if you guys can very quickly introduce yourself, that would be very helpful for us. And if you have one specific question or something that you want to get out of this workshop, that will also help us tailor our presentation.
I work in HPD, and I'm interested in the project in Puerto Rico. Learn more about it and the finance and all of that.
You'll get that one.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I go to Lincoln College, and I am currently working on a project on spreading information about the connections of how we distribute aid, especially to Puerto Rico at this time, throughout the United States.
How do you distribute it to Puerto Rico, look at it here, and then take it to Puerto Rico?
Yeah, and distributing information as connections between the United States and Puerto Rico to the rest of the United States.
So I'm actually coordinating the Acacia Relief Fund. If I don't get all the answers for you during the presentation, at the end, I can give you a lot of information.
Okay, yeah, I would love that.
I'm Sierra. I'm a student at Columbia studying international development, and I'm focusing on the interplay between long-term development and humanitarian crises.
Hi, I'm Melanie. I'm from Massachusetts. Hi, I'm Mary Robles. I'm the school liaison at Russi and Panelists. I work under the
Hi, I'm Lamika Fiskas.
Hi, I'm García.
Samantha Joseph. I am a doctoral candidate in public health at Drexel in Philly, and I'm working on community level trauma, specifically communities of color. And housing is one of the subjects that I yeah. Here.
Oh, Vanessa Licea, I'm an architect in New York City. I've been working on affordable housing for over the last 10 years. And I'm specifically interested in sustainable affordable housing, but currently, right now, it's also about temporary shelter and how you can provide roofs to the people over there right now.
Hi, my name is Bella Matias. I'm a CCNY student, State College of New York. I've been spearheading a lot of Puerto Rico relief efforts on my campus. And I also do work with Habitat for Humanity. So yeah, I was kind of interested to see if there was, I know they just went out there like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of interested in like what's going on with the housing scene out there as far as not just like housing policy, but rebuilding.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nancy Vargas Johnson. I'm with the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. We're a national organization, and we're organizing an effort of collecting items and shipping over there and also raising money. So it's just my field, and I'd like to hear what you have to say. What's happening there.
I'm Carlos Vargas. I'm one of the conference organizers.
Thank you.
I'm also interested in housing. It's one of the subjects that I at least keep tabs on.
My name is Charlotte Navarro. I work with New York Immigration Coalition. Just came back from Puerto Rico yesterday as an individual.
My name is Dilsa Rios. I'm a retired social worker, and I belong to an organization called Chelsea Rising. And our objective is to make other people in America, in our community, aware of the problems that Puerto Rico is facing from before the death and now this situation.
Hi, my name is Heidi Martinez. I'm a medical sociologist. I have my permanent appointment at Arizona State University, but I'm doing a year-long fellowship at Yale. So it's easy for me to come here. I also studied social justice, so I'm really interested. There was already a housing issue of the state of the house people. So how are people who lost everything like finding their way back?
I'm Carolina Torres. I'm a student here at Silverman, and I also work in the housing department at Bridge.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. Would you like to do an overview of your organization and give them information about your programs?
Sure, yes. Thank you for letting me go first, because I think that this is going to be more exciting. Puerto Rico. But first I wanted just to give I'm a planner. I noticed that some of you are architects. I'm very involved in development. So I'll be talking about two things. One is the efforts of the Puerto Rican agenda in Chicago, and also some opportunities to get involved in Chicago, thinking about how to welcome just residents that have been relocating through housing, but also other social services. So I look at it more from the perspective of housing and community development, right? What all the things that people need in order to relocate in one space. And then I'll also talk about an initiative with the University of Puerto Rico, planning and architecture department. I know that some of you are students, and maybe you want to get involved in some of those efforts. So first, talking about the Puerto Rican agenda, we have led 3 efforts. So one of them is the aid to the island, right? So it's doing a fundraising, and it's more than $103,000 to bring generators and other supplies to the island, especially to places pueblos like San Sebastián or Vieques, where aid is so hard to get. So there has been a lot of aid, but also we have been receiving evacuees. So about 300 people directly came. It's a flight from United that was organized by the mayor of the city, and also there's representative Luis Gutierrez. So they wanted to welcome people, and about the first week, about 1,600 Puerto Ricans that have family in Chicago came, and again 300 were in particular from the effort of the Puerto Rican agenda. So as you can see, the majority of the people were brought by family members, and they were staying with family members, right? So that has been the housing that has been provided, and the way that it has also worked is because Chicago, it's a place that sometimes can be crowded, right? And housing is more expensive. That a lot of people have been going to Chicago and then going with family members that have more space in Texas or in other places. And so the other people, the city has been trying to make an effort with the community in where there's a center in the Puerto Rican community. So if you know about Chicago and the Puerto Rican community, there's 100,000 people, but about 50,000 Puerto Ricans are really concentrated in this area on the west side, which is the Humboldt Park area, which is very recognizable, right? And if you're going to go anywhere, that would be the welcome center. And then once people go to the welcome center, there's information about housing and different social services. The housing, unfortunately, the city doesn't have Section 8 vouchers, right? So those lists are completely closed, and you cannot get a new voucher. But the city has been very open to be accepting people who have vouchers in Puerto Rico, and then being able to use those vouchers in the city. The other thing that the organizations in the community have been doing is getting people at the top of their wait list, because they have there's big organizations like Hispanic housing, and then just having people being a priority so they can receive that kind of assistance. And other people are going through the regular shelter system, especially through the YMCA, and receiving some
assistance, like regular assistance, like rapid rehousing. Some of them placed into like hotels, but that's like very temporary. Something that the Puerto Rican agenda has been trying to do is like how can FEMA get direct like assistance, because obviously Chicago is not it doesn't get any of these. So that's kind of like one of the asks. So basically that has been the three initiatives, is like thinking about aid to the island, thinking about how to receive people. So there's like, again, there's like 1,600 people that have moved, 300 especially like being helped through this like initiative from the city. And we expect that about like, well, you hear all kinds of numbers, right? So it's like something, I think that's like to put something out. It has Illinois as one of the places that it receives less than, let's say, Florida is going to be like, I think already it's like 60,000 Puerto Rican. So this is like about 3,000 or so, but like in the city itself, people have been saying like about 10,000. So that would be like, in the sense of what we're talking about, maybe some of you come from Florida or like other places, like the level of scale is still kind of manageable, right? In the city of Chicago, to be able to welcome people to the city. So that's for the initiative in Chicago. Maybe later on I can talk about how to get involved, like a little bit better. Yeah.
Any questions so far?
Okay.
Yeah.
So where I'm from in Holyoke, Massachusetts, right now we are struggling with getting our families housing, which I understand is something that's happening across the U.S. for these states that are hosting these families. But more importantly, it sounds like there's a little bit more, I guess what I'm hearing is a little bit more leeway from the places that you're talking about that we don't necessarily have. So I'm wondering what the process was, or who I could get in touch with to talk to, and like asesorarme a ver cuáles son las ayudas que puedo buscar y asesorarme para saber cuál es el proceso que ustedes han conseguido para tener tanta ayuda, porque where we're at right now, like if they have a Section 8, even getting the Section 8 voucher transferred, they're giving my family such a hard time. And I'm a school liaison there for So I have a lot of children who are being affected by this, who are struggling to go to school because they haven't had a place to sleep or X, Y,
Where are you again?
Massachusetts.
By the way,
Well,
very Puerto Rican. I've been in Holyoke.
yeah, we
Amazing
have the
town.
most. Yeah, we have the most Puerto Ricans per capita. Yeah.
Wanted you to say that because I was surprised to me.
Yeah. So we're in town and we have the most Puerto Ricans per capita. In I think in the U.S., but it may shift now that things have.
I think it's the first and then it's
and then in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we're right above, and we're actually a town of our last census, we're about a little under 40,000 people, and we're about a 51% Puerto Rican community. And most of our families, that also overlaps with poverty. Most of our families do fall under the poverty level. And so what I'm struggling with is there are programs, right? There's already programs for housing, for like first, last, and security help, or there's programs for X, Y, and Z. But no one's understanding the emergency that these families have. And so they're consistently asking for paperwork. They don't know where to get like, who am I going to come for? Like, good luck with that. And so what I'm hearing was that some more leniency out there. So I'm wondering who I can connect with, especially with the Section 8, because even getting up, I have one family who's been calling me, who's been traveling to different towns in TR, calling me to get signal. And she had to go to San Juan to pick up a physical voucher of her Section 8 to get it, to bring the physical one, to bring it to Holyoke, in order for the Section 8 to even consider absorbing her case.
Right, and I think that the way that it's managed is by the administration in the city, so the public housing authorities. They have a lot of decision in what they accept and they don't. And again, that's something that is not like you're supposed to be able to take it. But I think that sometimes there might be problems in terms of because there might be a gap in like how much rent is in the in that particular place, and in Puerto Rico they were receiving less rent, and then they were receiving you know, public housing authority has to pick up that.
Yeah, and
basically,
and we also discovered that there's in Puerto Rico they have like la renta negativa, so rent are negative because they're at 100%, Section 8 will cover 100%. But here it's not, or in Mass, it's not practiced the same way. So maybe I'll just, if I could just get like information on who handles the like housing issues in your communities, that way I can reach out to them and just look at their models and then maybe present that to my community, and then maybe they'll be more receptive if they know that it's working somewhere else.
Right. Another workshop, get my business card, and then just one case at a time. So you tell me exactly what's the case, and then I'll try to figure out how to connect you.
Thank you.
Sorry. But something I would add is like, it's very political. Like in this case, like running man with all the aldermen and representatives together, they actually make this like press conference and then just pushing for these very specific things. So the Puerto Rican community in Chicago is very strong politically. I think that makes a difference, but definitely.
Yeah. Right now, I know you guys brought up numbers. Right now, I was the only person doing intakes for the first 3 weeks after the hurricane initially occurred in the aftermath, and I was seeing between 10 and 15 new families coming in every day. So that's Monday through Friday. And over the weekend, a bunch of new families would come in. So Monday, I would be seeing like 20 to 25 families. And that's been really consistent in a very small town with very limited resources.
So that shows you what's happening.
Right.
And
And
not only that,
yes.
in other areas. I'm going to pass the mic to Raul now, so he can do the presentation.
Thank you very much. I mean, I know that we could spend the entire time talking about what's going on in Puerto Rico. You know, I'm sure that we can do some of that. I'm after and between the conference, but I'm going to try to focus on a story about Puerto Rico. You know, a project in Puerto Rico before and a project in Puerto Rico after. So you know, I was born in Puerto Rico, and I love to share this, and I do most of the time. Some of you might have heard it before. I was born in Apiadero, in Patillas. It's a little town, a little village up in the mountains. They call it Apiadero because there are apias. It's true. It's true. My family migrated from Apiadero to Buffalo, New York. You can imagine the shock of that. In April 1957, and we grew up there. 8 kids, 9 actually, my half brother, and that's where I grew up. That's where I was raised, and my father and a group of Puerto Ricans formed the first Puerto Rican American Association, and a lot of us who grew out of there went on to work in civil service and other jobs. Since the blue collar jobs in Buffalo collapsed in the 1950s and 60s. I ended up engaging in politics, ended up eventually becoming a police officer, and then go down to becoming the head of the superintendent jail, becoming the chair of the parole board for New York State for Mario Cuomo, and eventually here in New York City as probation commissioner and sheriff of the city of New York. 34 years law enforcement. All the time though, I was very engaged in community activities. So I was a member of pretty much every board, chaired a bunch of boards in the Latino community, and everywhere I went, including Buffalo, Albany, and then in New York City. And then I was recruited to go to the Bronx by some friends. There was a small organization called Basics, and they were looking for somebody to run it. At that time, the Ramon Velas sort of empire was coming to an end. Ramon had got Alzheimer's. I had the highest respect for Ramon Velas. No matter what you hear in the news, this was an amazing human being who had some weakness like we all do, but he did something that was an amazing, and we should never take an individual based on what you hear from one side. I mean, this was a complex individual, but an amazing individual no less. He built this empire, and of course he got sick, and the empire collapsed. And when some of the leadership always said that you had to have a strong community-based organization, Puerto Rican, Latino, who could sit at the table when decisions and policies were made, or otherwise you would be left out. And Ramon said that, and the people that were watching the multi-service collapse were really focused on trying to keep the organization going. Ramon Velez, at the time that he got sick, had over 6,000 units of affordable houses that he controlled and had built. So this was an amazing organization. In those days, it was really doing amazing things. And those housings are still throughout the Bronx. They've been called other names. They didn't refinance several times. But the reality is that they still are servicing that community. There were a bunch of buildings, community buildings that were also there that were being lost one at a time. And those are the ones that eventually I ended up as part of the Acacia network. My initial work at Acacia was with substance abuse. Remember, I came out of law enforcement. We don't have to go too far to talk about what's going on today with the epidemic, heroin epidemic, which was, if you want to know who hooked America, it was the doctors. It wasn't the Puerto Rican junkies. It wasn't the Mexicans. It was the doctors. Our doctors hooked America. And they hooked America. They hooked us first, the Puerto Ricans and the African American community. And when they ran out of patients, we got a little smart and started getting treatment. They focused on the rest of the people that were in terrible state. They hooked the entire country on pain pills, and eventually from there on heroin, the heroin addiction. That work that we did with the heroin addiction, started by Julio Martinez back in the 70s, made us sort of an expert in working in the field. And we have really done a phenomenal job working in heroin addiction. But addiction creates homelessness, creates tremendous healthcare crisis. So building basically expanded into housing and healthcare. The determinants of health, right? Somebody said it back there, right? So we have now an organization that has, first of all, that is, and I say this with pride, and I say it because it is exactly what we wanted to do. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't by accident. It didn't happen out of some vision. It happened because people with vision before me said it needed to happen, and they passed that dream vision to me. We have the largest Puerto Rican run organization in the nation. We're at about $600 million worth of assets and revenue. We have between 3,000 and 4,000 employees. We are in New York, 4 boroughs. They haven't let us into Staten Island yet, but they will eventually. Buffalo, Albany, we're in Florida and Puerto Rico. And now Tennessee and a few other places. I've kind of lost track of Georgia. The organization, 2 pillars is healthcare and housing, and then everything else around it. So we have senior services and we have daycare programs. So it's become a unique organization. And I say that because I really am proud of the work that everybody's done to bring this organization to where it is today. So a few years back, about 5 years ago, somebody said to me, why don't you go to Puerto Rico? Why isn't Acacia in Puerto Rico? And I said, Puerto Ricans don't need another Puerto Rican to come compete in Puerto Rico. There are lots of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico who do everything I'm doing. And the last thing I want to do is go down there and pretend that I know something they don't, because that would be foolish and a mistake, right? So, but there was a tax syndicator who was doing some project in Puerto Rico, and he said, oh, one of the things that we don't have in Puerto Rico is a good, strong not-for-profit partner in deals and housing deals. Would you be interested in going to Puerto Rico with me and looking at a deal in Puerto Rico? And I said, I'll go. So we jumped in a plane, we went down, and I was introduced to a gentleman who was the ombudsman for the Department of Aging, and Oscar, who I love very much, because I would not be doing Puerto Rico wasn't for Oscar. And Oscar and I, he showed me this project, and I said to him exactly what I said to you was, Oscar, I don't know why you need me. I'm sure there are lots of Puerto Ricans right here who can do this project for you. He said, Raul, there's expertise that you have, and there's expertise that we have. If we put it together, we can build a really great project. I said, but I feel a little weird, coming in here doing this. He said, Raul, I thought we were all Puerto Ricans. I thought we were a Puerto Rican nation. That it didn't make it borders, countries, and everything. If you're Puerto Rican, you're Puerto Rican. If we need each other's help, there should never be an issue about whether we're here or we're there. And that stayed with me, and I said, okay, all right, let's take a look. So we started taking a look at that, and then we decided that instead of going in and saying, okay, this is what we can go on to here. So we met with about 20 mayors, right? And I wanted to know from the mayors what was it really needed. And I actually brought some of the mayors here. And we worked out that senior housing was a big deal in Puerto Rico, and that we really needed to look at that. At that point, I was lucky enough to get this young lady to join me. Like, I'm going to shift it to her pretty quickly. So we started to think about, okay, what are we doing? And we were here working with 9% tax credits here, we're working on Section 8 vouchers, we're working with home funds. All that was available in Puerto Rico too. And so we decided, okay, let's go meet the people who do this big decision. So up to the Puerto Rico Housing Finance, up to HUD, visiting up to the governor's office, a very political place as we all hear about. But I just wanted to stop there for 1 second because I heard this over and over and I found it to be completely not true. I heard, no, you got to do all this in Puerto Rico with the policy, you got to be careful, you got to do this. I got to tell you that in my several years process, I found everybody welcoming, ready to give me information. We met with the government agency. They could not have been more helpful. We applied for the 9% tax credit. We were rookies in Puerto Rico, so our first application, they're probably saying that you have to have shovel ready. And when I mean shovel ready, it means everything has been done, all the drawings, it's got it. So that means you got to invest, in our case, $1 million before you even apply. $1 million in the bucket, and if you don't win, the $1 million goes away. So that's the kind of investment you have to have if you want to get into this. I did not know that, but that's the way it was. Here it's a little different, but there you have to invest. So we went in, we met with the elected officials. They gave us all the heads up. They told us what you have to do, like I said, they couldn't be more help. We applied. We knew when we put the application in that we were not going to be successful because we didn't have real, truly shovel-ready project. The day that we put in the application, they came into my office, Lymaris and Raul, and said, we're not going to win. Do you still want to do it? And I said, yes. I want to be educated. I want to see what, because if you deny, they're going to give you the denial. They have to give you the denial. So we sent it as short of, we got the denial. We got that. That was the roadmap to our success. The most important thing for us was that we didn't want to go in and supplant anybody in Puerto Rico. We built with the developers, the owners of the project, and there's only one person that we brought from here, and she happens to be Puerto Rican from there, now transported here. But we did not bring people out there to do work. There was plenty of work. We didn't bring a construction company there. There's plenty of construction. We didn't bring an architect. There are plenty of architects. One of the things I learned from my past experience with the criminal justice system, and I happen to have a couple of experiences that really saddened me and infuriated me. I was hired by a consulting company to go down and take a look at the jails in Puerto Rico when I was working on the criminal justice system. So I went and I got there with this group. I was there for 2 weeks. And the first thing they told me is that, listen, when you come here, you don't try to tell these folks anything. You just listen, and then we go do what we want to do. And the other thing is, we don't have to worry about whether we complete or not, because the government's going to get thrown out of office, and the next government comes in whether to do it again. And in the meantime, you just keep making money, generating dollars. So when I did my report, I might as well send a letter of resignation because I gave a letter to the governor and to the legislature and to the consultant saying, this is all crap. The reality is that there has to be a real reconstruction of the prison system in Puerto Rico. And I gave out a report, which I still have somewhere in my office. And then I told the truth about how these organizations were just ripping off Puerto Rico. They would come in with 20 people, everybody would make money, tons of money for years and years, and then leave Puerto Rico and leave them in the same condition. And if they bought into some of the correctional systems, they recommended they would. And they brought their own company, they brought the locking people, everybody came from the US to make money in Puerto Rico. It was a horrible situation. I promised myself I would never do that. So when we went into Puerto Rico, I promised myself that we would not do a single part of that. So I turned it over to Lymaris, and I said, Lymaris, this is, go for it. Here's what I want. She was in complete agreement, and I would like you to tell your part of the story, because you took her from there and made it happen.
So when the project was given to me, as Raul mentioned, we started going to Puerto Rico and meet with different sectors. And that was important because I always, and the word that we always use was we want to collaborate with you. And it's important to go to Puerto Rico in that way and in that spirit. So you don't recolonize them again, you don't impose on them, you don't say that because you left the island that you know more than them. And I talk about it in every single meeting or presentation that we do, because it's very important for us to go and say, how can we collaborate with you? You're here day in and day out, you drink your coffee in Puerto Rico, I don't drink it in Puerto Rico anymore. So you're the expert, and I just have some tools that if we can collaborate, we can be very successful. And that is the model of everything that we have done in Puerto Rico, and it's also the model of the relief fund that we have right now going in Puerto Rico. So when you do that, what you allow is people to really open up and to tell you, this is how we would like this project to be. And you hear the architect and you hear the construction company, all of them had an idea, an experience, 15 other projects that they have done, because the team that we have is the team that have built the affordable senior housing across the island. In the team that we have the property manager that managed more than 20 affordable housing projects in Puerto Rico. So they have the expertise. We have the desire, we have the pre-development money that because of the situation that Puerto Rico has been going through, they did not have at that time. So it was a great partnership. It was just all the stars aligned. We had the money, the desire. We brought all these people together, and we came together and we started developing the plan. We did not want a building, just a 20-floor building, because that's not what Acacia does. We do communities of healthy communities. Actually, that's our model, building healthy communities. So what we did is we found an architect that have done only one project in Puerto Rico. It's called Caguas Courtyard. And the main aspect of that building is a courtyard, a big courtyard with a lot of active design. So a lot of stairs and a lot of different ways that the senior community can, be healthy and actually build a community. So we found her. She had done one successful project. She was new at the Puerto Rico Housing Financial Authority. She was our first consultant. So we brainstormed with her and she started creating our model. That was the first thing that we did. The second thing that we did was, out of all these majors that we met, we needed to find one that understood the role of a nonprofit building housing in Puerto Rico. Here, we understand that in Puerto Rico, private developers have been historically the ones that have built affordable housing. So we wanted to find a major, young, enthusiastic, that had a really nice parcel, because the other thing is you cannot build everywhere. You have to build in an area that meets the requirements of the home and the Puerto Rico Housing Financial Authority and a lot of different agencies. So it took us 5 years to get to know everybody, to get to know the permit system in Puerto Rico, which is another world, and someone has questions. But there is an expert. There is a woman in Puerto Rico, part of our team, that knows the regulation, knows the system, is an expert on it. So anybody that has questions about permit, houses, selling, building, I can give you where it comes out. So that's how the project came together. By the time we went to the second round in Puerto Rico, everybody knew about Acacia and who we were and why we wanted to do it. And so we submitted, and there were 27 applications. By the way, because of the situation that has been going on in Puerto Rico, by the time that we submitted our application, we submitted 3 applications in one. Because it was the first time that Puerto Rico government combined home funds with low-income housing tax credit with Section 8 vouchers. So it was the first time that our consultant that done this for 25 years had to do 3 applications in one. And the way that the government was going to do this was they're going to rank you first in the Puerto Rico Housing Financial Authority, the credits. And if you have all the requirements for credits, then you will go to the home credits, right? So they say, okay, you're good with low-income housing tax credit. Let me see if you meet all the requirements with home. And if you meet those two, then let me see if I still have vouchers available for your project. So that went on for like 6-7 weeks. At the end, we got the letter of award, and our project was out of 27 projects that were submitted. Ours was granted number 1, and one of the projects that closed immediately after the award letter, and we are on the ground, we're under construction right now. The project is in Toa Alta. We believe that somehow, someone somewhere is really protecting this project. Nothing happened to our site. Nothing. Not
The
a
hurricane went right through the center of that.
Yeah. And our team went back to that project to continue building 3 days after the hurricane. That tells you resiliency right there. There's nowhere to get in. There's nowhere to get out of Toa Alta the first week. And Monday, they were in the site, and they've been building since then. So that we're not there. They're our ears, they're our eyes, they're our everything. All of them are committed to this project. And the long-term vision that Raul has is that's the first step of what we're going to do in Toa Alta. There is a lot right next to the site that hopefully we can also develop. Because we believe that you don't do housing alone, you do primary care, you do a social daycare, you do different things, and you build communities. So that is the success story that we have to present to you. Challenges that we have encountered. Puerto Rico construction is very expensive. The construction stopped for many years. In the past, we were constructing a lot. So that means that there's not a lot of construction materials in the island as we speak. There are not a lot of tools and trucks and diggers, because if there's no construction, there's no need for all these construction companies to be fully activated, right? We're very grateful. We have one of the largest construction companies in Puerto Rico, CIC, and they build a lot of pharmaceutical and big projects, so they're very active. But there are many construction companies that they closed in the past 10, 12 years. They have not have any other jobs. So that was a challenge before the hurricane, and we're sure it's going to continue to be a challenge now, because now you have to rebuild. Now there's going to be a lot of construction. The materials, how you get the materials there, how you get the trucks, how you get all the things that were not there to start with. Or if they were there, they were in short supply because there was not that much construction. In terms of permits, historically, Puerto Rico has a very incredible, complicated permit law. But they have changed some of that, and they have done websites, and it's still difficult, it's still a hurdle to get through that, but not as hard as in the past. So through that effort, we've been going to Puerto Rico for every month or every other month for 5 years. So when the hurricane happened, and I'm going to tell you the introduction, and then I'm going to pass it to Raul. So when the hurricane happened, the morning of that day, which I will never forget, I called Raul. Raul called me. I don't know what happened. Like somehow we were on the phone like at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like it's real. It happened. What are we going to do? So Raul had to call the board and the chair of Acacia board and the president, and they made a decision that we needed to create our own fund. And that was the first thing that you needed to do, right? You need to raise the money to be able to help. We wish we were able to be there that same day and help people, and we were feeling awful about it, but we couldn't. So we pledged
$1 million. And the way to work, I spoke. I said I'm gonna pledge $1 million. I'm gonna have to get the board to approve it, but I want to pledge $1 million. We had some reserves that we used from some of our projects. I'm going to pull it in, and from our fundraising, I'm going to pledge $1 million. I'm going to try to get a matching million from all my friends and colleagues that we do business all every day with. And so that was our pledge to put $1 million on the ground. But the one thing that I knew from our experiences from the beginning is this thing of code. First of all, this is not Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana. This is an island. It's the president could have been defined to us. This is an island, and it'll be always surrounded by water. And that the idea that somehow you want to collect all these items and get them to Puerto Rico was a little foolish on a lot of people's parts. And not a lot of people are collecting, still collecting. We decided not to do that. We knew that that in the moment was probably not the best thing. We decided that one thing that would help is cash. Because cash can be used in many different ways. And one of the things that we figured out right away was that before the hurricane in Puerto Rico, there was stuff stored in warehouses in Puerto Rico. It wasn't like, Puerto Rico had nothing, right? The infrastructure, was wiped out by the hurricane, but there were warehouses full of food and products in Puerto Rico because Walmart and all these stores, they have all kinds of stuff there all the time. How do we get these things to people? So having cash, guess what? You can buy it. And what is the one thing Puerto Rico needs right now more than anything else? They need their people back to work. So if you start buying products and you begin to generate the economy. If I buy from the warehouse that has the employees come back to work, and they can have some money to do their things. To me, that seemed like the logical way to go. And Lymaris kept pushing me really hard. Raul, let's remember what we did with our construction. Let's do the same thing here. But in the meantime, we said there are going to be things that they don't have the supplies and we could send them. So that the second part is, what do they really need? Well, how do you find that out? You ask people, what do you need? What do they tell you? Things that you don't need. Well, the first thing is a roof on, right? So they need a tarp to cover the roof temporarily. Wow, let's get some tarps on a container on flights down to Puerto Rico. They need generators, tractors and generators. So we got 150, 160.
By now, over 200.
Over 200 generators, and we started shipping them off to Puerto Rico. We started, people need diapers. A lot of us old guys, when we get old, we need diapers, like 50 diapers, right? Be surprised, but the horrible problem with prostate cancer. Do you know that the largest population of men who get prostate cancer are Caribbean men with African descent? That's the highest percentage. And I know that because I have prostate cancer. And when I went to the doctor and I asked him, why? He says, because the majority of the prostate cancers, the largest majority is men of Caribbean descent and African descent. So a lot of people, part of the Puerto Rico, the healthcare system is horrible. So what happened, men wait. By the time they get help, it's too late. By that time they happen, when they get dealt with, they end up incontinent and they have to wear diapers for the rest of their lives. And obviously there's a whole problem with women too. Obviously, please for women. So there are diapers. Believe it or not, everybody says diapers. So we're shipping off diapers, and we're asking them what they need, not imposing, sending junk down there. Patilla was a little example. They sent a container full of army rations. You can imagine that some people Puerto Rico getting bags of army rations. They made them feel ungrateful because they weren't using them. Well, in those mountain towns where I went, they still had their llamas and yautillas and stuff they had stored the day before. That's not what they needed. They needed something to cover their roof. They needed something to help them deal with their sick parents. They needed basic things. And that's what we went after. And the next thing we needed to do was put a network to try to get the stuff. And that's been the hardest part. And Lymaris can maybe talk a little bit about so creating a network to help. I can't be there. I've not been there. She can't be there. We sent a couple of people help coordinate. You got to use the resources that are on the ground.
Which is the value of ours. That there are people that are connected and they have been working in the community. So that's the people that we have relationship with, that we trust, that we deal with. So those are the people that we're going to connect with. So the story goes as follows. In the first 30 days, what we did, we found local suppliers, not just the Walmarts and the Costco's, because we also want to help our local people. So they are two big local wholesale suppliers that we contact, that we know, because we have another staff that does a lot of work in Puerto Rico. And he's very well known in very different areas. So he just has to pick up the phone and say, can you do this for Acacia? And it is done. So that's one of the things that is happening as we speak. We have wholesales we have open accounts, and we identify either a nonprofit or a person that can go pick up, literally do like a food shopping, and then hand deliver that to a town or to a family or to a nonprofit. So that's what's been going on in daily days. That's real help, like almost in real time. The other thing is identify the restaurants that were open. And 2 days after the hurricane happened, there was a restaurant that was open, and there was a nonprofit that has been working with the pediatric hospital. So she identified the need. The kids have food because the hospital have enough food for the kids that are in the hospital, but the hospital doesn't have the food for the parents that need to stay with the kids and cannot go back home. Okay, a specific need. And the woman said, and I have the restaurant that have food and it's open and can hand deliver. So we say, absolutely. That was 3 days after the hurricane. Then 2 days after that, the wholesale supplier opened, we open accounts. We have the people because we've been there 5 years, so we know the churches. We know ¿cómo se dice we also have we know the affordable housing for seniors. So we have the list. We know who managed that building. We know the concept. We told her this is what we can do. Go get it and deliver. Done. The other one is the los comedores escolares.
The
School lunches.
Like
the school kitchens,
Cafeteria.
cafeterias.
Yeah, it's a group of young artists that have been doing this for years now in Puerto Rico. They're in Cabo, Humacao, and Loíza, in the places where we knew there was no way that people were gonna get food. I opened an account for him. He can go do the food shopping, and I remember which is something that I also want to mention. So when he calls me, this is all philanthropy at the same time, right? You're saying yes, but where's the paperwork and the photo and the documentation, and it's all of
The
this at the
IRS is
same
watching
time.
me, because I collect the money, they want to know what I'm doing with that money, so everything has to be documented.
So how do you how do you say yes to someone that is begging you on the phone that you know for years, that you know is gonna do the right thing, that is calling you because it's like driving to the expressway to find a little bit of signal because they know that we will help, and then tell you, this is what I need it now. And you're gonna ask them, give me a report, send me an email. That's the story of that's the story that we've been day in and day out for the past 30 days. So we say yes. This is what you're gonna do, this is who you're gonna talk, this is where the food is gonna get. Once the food gets to you, then at some point send me signatures of the people, send me something. And you know what? Everybody that we have helped, because this is the story of Puerto Ricans. Everybody that we have helped, everybody that has received agua, arroz, generadores, nos ha enviado una foto, un papel, Facebook listing. I mean, we have documentation of everything that we say yes, like this.
Because I want to make a point to that. I heard over and over again, we're going to stop over here because we go on in it. Well, the stuff will go to the wrong place. Somebody will steal.
Yeah.
And I got so angry at that, so frustrated with that. I said, you know what, they're hungry and they steal, and God bless them.
Yeah,
Right?
really.
This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life, right? So to me, that's not the issue. But I do have an issue. I run a not-for-profit, very large. I don't want to put my organization at risk. And I'm raising money under the name of an organization, so I got to check to make sure that I check my boxes. That is why the only reason we did. And I said, you know, whatever, I'll take that hit when it comes. Right now, we need to get that down there. That to me was the ultimate thing. Forget about that. That's not how the Puerto Ricans that I grew up with. It's not my family. I don't know who you were talking about that. And we've been down there off and on now for this month and a half, people in and out, so that's not the problem. I want to just end here and then we'll open it up. Yeah.
And that was just the plan for the first 10 days, because that's an emergency and it's a crisis, and some of you asked me, so that's a 10-day plan. That ended. That's completely gone, and now we have to rethink what's going to be the help moving forward. And there's 2-3 initiatives that are underway right now And those are the ones that we're gonna kind of like finish. And then we think the long term. And what are the values of Acacia? Of course, the housing is one, and we have seniors is another sector. And then how are we gonna engage with that conversation about how you rebuild solar, this, that? That's not a decision that we're gonna make today, and we're not gonna tell you that's it, because as an organization, we're gonna do what we did when we went to Puerto Rico 5 years ago. We're gonna sit down with the experts that are in Puerto Rico, and then determine what to do next.
I think we're running out of time, David.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would like, the folks here in the room to contribute. In listening to Ivis, in listening to our fellow Puerto Rican from Holyoke, obviously Puerto Ricans are going to be coming from the island, whether they are short-term, mid-term, or long-term, they're going to be coming. One of the reasons why is because a lot of housing has been fully destroyed or partially damaged. And one thing that I just learned is the fact that there hasn't been a lot of construction, at least affordable housing construction in Puerto Rico, because there has been a slump in the housing market in Puerto Rico. I wonder, since the hurricane damaged mostly wood frame homes that are either uninsured, that are, possibly in land that does not belong to the owner of the home, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be displaced long term. But in Puerto Rico, there has been a housing crisis as well, in that many homes have been taken over by banks, right? Many of them remain underwater. Many of them remain unoccupied. So I think that there is going to be housing that could be used to house people that have been displaced. But people who have been displaced may not have the resources to occupy that house. Can a program like a Section 8, which may go a longer way in Puerto Rico than maybe in Holyoke or in Chicago, can that be extended? Can that be an ask of the federal government, of HUD, to increase the voucher system in Puerto Rico, so that people who have been displaced from their wood frame homes and tin roofs into cinder block homes that are unoccupied because the banks have taken over, or the owners who own it, they just don't want to rent to anybody because nobody can afford it?
So I guess the answer to the question is not in this room, because you will have to have somebody either from the federal, from HUD, or somebody from, obviously, Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rico housing finance. I know that the Section 8 voucher has been under attack for a while anyways, for reductions. Even in our last deal when we did in Puerto Rico, it was difficult to put all that together. So a problem with that. So I think that somewhere along the line, I'm really, really concerned, not about decisions made in Puerto Rico, but decisions made here. And the electrical contract is an example of that. How decisions are made about how the rebuilding in Puerto Rico, or what decisions are made about what funds are used to rebuild Puerto Rico are made. They're going to be very political decisions. And there has to be at least a real solid effort, both Puerto Rican across the United States, especially Puerto Ricans who are in a position of power, to try to put their arms around that rebuilding, including whatever resources you're going to need to rebuilding. And I'm really, really concerned about that. We had a little conversation about that when we were coming in today. I know that the resources to rebuild Puerto Rico are in Puerto Rico. And there really is no need for people to run from Puerto Rico if we do the right thing. If we do the right thing, the resources, that the people that are in Puerto Rico, there's plenty of work now to rebuild Puerto Rico. There should be no reason. What we should be doing is to figure out temporary housing for people in Puerto Rico. We should be working to find a way to keep people in Puerto Rico. Not that we don't want them, but the reality is that Puerto Rico needs them more, that they need them to rebuild, that all the talents and the work that's there should be done. If anything, I would be looking to figure out a way to help the people in Puerto Rico, stabilize people in Puerto Rico, create jobs in Puerto Rico, get that economy running so that the Puerto Rico can come back to life. If we focus our attention solely, and I'm not saying we are or we're not, on getting people moved out of the island, somebody else is going to do the work. And somebody's going to make a lot of money, and eventually some of those people will go back. We should be the one thing I said in my vision was that we should be the masters of our own destiny. And in Puerto Rico, we should be the masters of our own destiny. We should really push hard to help the people in Puerto Rico rebuild in Puerto Rico. And whatever we need to do to make people comfortable there, safe there, we should do.
How do we do that for housing?
Oh, okay. So I don't know if any of you are aware, but there's Airbnb recently unveiled an open homes platform for housing refugees. But this is not necessarily Section 8, but there is the potential of having a network, internet-based. I mean, you have to figure out the communication part of it. You can have centers also that have the communication, people can go there. But if there are people who are available to house families, I mean, this is happening in Syria and a lot of different places, but might be a good model to look at for Puerto Rico. I don't know if they're already looking at it or not, but it's happening in a lot of places where there's like displacement because of war or civil war, but that might be something to consider for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I saw that it actually was active.
Yeah,
it is active.
Activated that somehow.
More than, but it wasn't a lot. Again, we're talking about scale. Because like with Airbnb, it's like, last time I checked, it was like 30 people subscribed, so 30 families relocated in the island. That's not a lot. So we need something that is like bigger. And like for Katrina, like the FEMA and HUD collaborated to create a voucher that it was, at first it was 2 years, but then they figured out that they needed for a little bit more time, like 4 years. But it was a special ask.
What about the hotel?
The TSA.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the hotel in Puerto Rico are being used by the FEMA folks mostly now, but it could be continued where you begin now to rotate some people around there until the homes are repaired. You know, there's a lot of ways, vouchers for people, instead of people having families move here, other families in Puerto Rico to take out family, you give them a voucher to help them stay with families to help out until their homes are repaired. If you want to really do unique ways to help the people in Puerto Rico, that to me would be my hope, that we figure out a way to do it there, to rebuild there, to help them come back to life there.
I heard that, I'm sorry, but I heard that FEMA was giving away tarps, but like this happened most recently, new rules required the Army Corps of Engineers to sign on to the attachment. So they wouldn't give you the tarp. Like before you could just like put it over, but now they're requiring like special sort of designed, like a design professional to review the attachment. So unless you have access to that, you're not able to just get plastic to put over your roof. So like do you know how they're dealing with that there? Because I mean, sending over tarps is great, but if FEMA has the tarps, but they can't give it to the people because they don't have the professionals to be able to.
FEMA may not be able to do, but there are no restriction on me doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, from our perspective, we can give you the nonprofit perspective. This is what we do, is the focus of our relief effort. About FEMA. I heard that we're very small. People started calling us. They asked me for an amount. I sent them to them. They showed me the video of actually installing them, and they accounted for the 1,044 tarps that we sent and went to different part of the island. That's, I mean,
they give it 10 by 10s, we give them 40 by 60s.
Well, that, I mean, knowing the size tarp we should be sending. You know, if we're sending tarps, knowing the size is helpful because, you know, you want it to be useful.
Are you also sending bungee cords with those tarps? Is that only?
We're sending ropes, we send electrical cord, generators, right? You send generators, you gotta send electrical cord and gas cans. Because generator by itself, without the gas cans, because they gotta keep going back to your gas or diesel, or the electrical cord to connect to the multiple, of course, you know, you need to plug more than one extension cord, so you need the triple header. So we bought 200 electrical cords with the.
And the first sheet.
Yeah, the share. I want to make one final thing, because I talked about collecting. So we the first couple of weeks we bought or collected a complete container to send to Puerto Rico. It took us 6 weeks to get that sucker there. Right. So that's why the money was so important. It took us 3 days to get money into people's hands to deliver food to people in the home. That's the kind of stuff you have to think about.
and then next week we're going to Puerto Rico, and then we'll sit down to get back to your question. We haven't had this conversation with the people in Puerto Rico about Section 8 and the houses that are empty. We're getting a lot of the same requests. Will you take them? Will you be able to rehab them? So we are hearing, we haven't talked to them. So we'll have an answer in terms of Section 8 and how we can maybe rebuild other houses that are available in the next couple of months. We are going there to actually start that type of conversation, in which architects will be dealing with us and what group we can put together, but we're not ready there yet. Our focus has been full and immediately.
Hey, I just wanted to say real quick, I'm kind of confused as to like the direction we wanted to help us going in, because I understand that if we work with small nonprofits, the scope may not be that big, but it seems like it's a lot less red tape. So, what would you suggest? And if we should bypass, because I know the people that I'm working with in Philadelphia, they've decided to just use somebody donated a baseball player, donated a plane, and we're only working with that one baseball player. And if anything's over, no red tape. But it's only a little plane at a time. Right?
But the thing is, the way I look at that is that to me works. To me, somebody said to me, "You're not the first responder." We're not the first responders. There's a whole group network in the United States. Maybe it didn't work as well in Puerto Rico, first responders. But what you are is you could connect. And if you do your part, and every one of us connect to those parts, you'd be surprised how much impact you can have. You can't look at the whole world burning and say, "Oh my God, I can't do anything because the whole world's burning." You got to go put up the fires in front of you. And I think that's sort of the mentality, at least from the not-for-profit. Puerto Rico did not have a not-for-profit structure. The only not-for-profit structure we've been using is the FQACs, the Federally Qualified Healthcare Clinics. And we've used them as a way because they're all over the island using for Vieques.
And the churches.
And the churches.
And Casa Pueblo in Adjuntas and Taller Salud in Loíza. And they are an incredible group of people.
It would be wonderful if we could get, if the public could get a list of such locally based organizations.
So we're gonna have to do it because we're getting all this question over and over again.
So I got a call from Buffalo. They raised $200,000. They don't know how to spend it.
Maria Font, there's a couple.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that are happening all over the island. So we were talking about housing. I want to share one quick story before we end here. We had a family. They came in, had dialysis needs, and we needed to put them out. The woman sleeping in the waiting room at the hospital because she's got to get daily dialysis, right? Or every other day, I think it was. So we did it. We went in, we got, we took a little money from here, then we put them on a hotel to try to get permanent housing. They're making these, money. They have, one has a retirement, one help. When I try to get them into affordable housing niche, they didn't fit. They make just enough money, but not enough to fit for the affordable housing. They can't get an approval. So, there has to be a way to go around those kind of rules. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
I don't know the answer either. But I just have a comment based on what Carlos was saying. If there's such a large inventory of empty houses there, and I'm thinking like this guy from Montana went and said, well, I saw the need and I'm here, and he got $300 million. So why don't we do an inventory of empty houses? Go there, go to the government and say, hey, give me the money, I have this solution.
So sometimes the solution are the simplest. You're right, because when I was trying to think about shipping,
I actually want.
I was talking about shipping. We said, how do we get stuff to Puerto Rico? And then we're trying all these crazy stuff. And I said, wait a minute, how do we get stuff to Puerto Rico before? UPS, Federal Express, DHL. So I called the first one I reached, DHL. They said, yeah, we just got an agreement with Puerto Rico to be able to ship stuff to Puerto Rico at a reduced price. I said, can you take my stuff within a week? The first shipment came through. A phone call through the phone, just pick up the phone and ask you the question, how do we do it before? Use the network that's always been there. So yes, there's probably already a system, and I think there's a system of those houses being rented. It's just somebody making it happen.
We wanted to bring our consultants here with you guys today,
Oh, yeah.
like, because they can answer a lot of questions about where there is a.
So this was planned, it was before the hurricane.
But they-
We were actually gonna bring the consultant to do the project in Puerto Rico.
But for you or for Centro, I can put you in contact with them and all these questions about Section 8 housing, all the houses that are empty, because it's a link and you can just Google and they'll tell you exactly what they are. So
I have like 2 action items, I think. So one of them is I make an app about PRSA vouchers, right? So I'm like addressing the question, learning a little bit more about this. And then having a list of local engaged organizations, if it's important, connection with them or just donating and so on. I have like 2 more action items. I think that this would be better for students because that's like my realm. Assistant professor at University Reviews have a Acacia course in Chicago that anyone could take it, but usually we do it with planners and architects, and we collaborate with ArchiWorks, which is like organization that with a public interest. So there's a class, it's like mid-May to like the end of June. It's $2,000 for food and housing. So if you take continuing education, it doesn't cost anything, but the idea is to work with the Puerto Rican community and, dealing with policy, but also with like public housing in the Lake of Homes and the Chicago Housing Authority. And then I am going to collaborate with the University of Puerto Rico in the planning and architecture department to see, to have them connect with the different organizations and municipalities in order to create an initiative that is surrounding planning. So if you're interested in that, and again, you don't have to be a student to be part of it, you can be a community member. But if you're interested in actually doing something, as a study abroad or study.
I have one answer. I have one action item.
Yeah.
It's called ayudapuertorico.com, donatepuertorico.com. Those are our donate site. I just told you how we're using our money. You can go online, put it on your Facebook page to your friends and colleagues and say, listen, I found this organization. Everything that we're doing, we're documenting. Eventually, we're going to put on the website everything we did, how the money was spent exactly, so everybody can see it. And I say this to people all the time. If you along the way donate money and you think we didn't do the right thing with money, I'll write you a check back. That's my promise to you. So ayudapuertorico.com, donatepuertorico.com.